I'm Julia Twigg. I'm Professor of Social Policy and Sociology at the University of Kent. And my subject is age and the ways in which dress expresses and shapes ideas about age. And this work is part of a wider movement in age studies. Traditionally, work on age focused on social welfare themes, on frailty, on questions of care and support. Now, they're important issues, but recently new approaches have begun to look at things rather differently. They've adopted a wider, more generous approach that aims to get away from the rather objectifying account, those old people over there, that was often characteristic of studies on age, and foregrounding instead the experiences of older people themselves. And this new work has brought in a whole range of topics that we didn't study before, topics like shopping, leisure, gardening, literature, film, theatre. And it's exemplified by this term, cultural gerontology. So, to turn to our topic of clothing and dress. Clothes lie on the boundary between the body and its social presentation. They're key to how the body is presented and enacted socially. And as such, they reflect ideas and norms about later years and its cultural estimation. Dress is one of the means whereby social difference is made manifest and visible. Now, we're familiar about that in relation to gender and class. Indeed, gender differentiation is one of the commonest features of dress codes cross-culturally, and social differentiation in the dress has been at the heart of much sociological analysis. But such analyses, I would argue, apply also to age. For dress practices encode and reflect meanings about age. And in doing so, they help to constitute age, like gender, like class, as a social category. Now, one of the clearest ways in which we can see this is in terms of the long-established phenomenon of age ordering. By age ordering, I mean the systematic pattern of cultural expectations according to an ordered and hierarchically arranged concept of age. There's a persistent normative pattern in regard to what sorts of clothes are thought appropriate for people as they get older, or rather inappropriate, for these are norms that are largely expressed in negative form, what you shouldn't wear, what you should start to avoid wearing. Now, of course, they're subject to historical specificity, but even so, there is a kind of persistent patterning in this age ordering historically. Clothes for older people are more covered up, they're darker, duller colours, they avoid claims to sexual attention, they're sober, they're self-effacing. We can illustrate this age ordering pattern historically in a remarkable document produced by an Augsburg merchant, Matthias Schwarz, in the 16th century. And he commissioned a document that showed his life in clothes. So that was 86 different outfits depicting his life through the medium of clothes. And as we look through these, we can see a steady, systematic change to darker, more sober styles. So here's Matthias at the age of 14, at 23, at 27, 38, 41, 53, 56, 63. As you can see, the styles change as the woman ages over the life course. Skirts get longer, they get less frilly, colours probably become darker, necklines become higher. So the style changes systematically through the life course. But also, you'll notice, the body that's wearing those styles changes. And this points to an important truth in relation to dress and age. And this is the interplay between bodily and cultural ageing. We need to understand ageing as both a physiological and a cultural matter. Clothing and dress are cultural, part of how we present and enact age in our society, but they're also material objects that interact with the body which wears them and to some degree dictates their cut and shape. For as we get older, the body alters in systematic ways. And we can see this illustrated here. We're looking at the new fit model developed by Size UK to reflect the nature of the body in later years. And what you're looking at there on the right is a size 18 mature figure. And as you can see, it's been altered systematically in order to reflect the changes that occur with age. As a result of these changes, designers learn to adjust the cut to respond to bodily change. But in doing so, they're responding also to the largely negative cultural estimation of those changes. Think about those higher necks, those longer skirts, that looser cut, those more self-effacing colours. These are dictated by cultural estimation rather than the changes of the body itself. So for that reason, I think we need to set these changes within a larger, more political context. Barnard has argued that dress needs to be understood as ideological. Part of the processes whereby groups establish, sustain and reproduce relations of dominance and subordination. And part of how those relations are made to appear natural, proper, legitimate. Now we're accustomed to this kind of analysis in relation to gender and class, but it also applies, I'd suggest, in relation to age. For are there not features of age-ordered dress that are ideological, that similarly express and naturalise hierarchically arranged social positions, that suggest subordination? I'm thinking here of the dull, drab, don't look at me qualities of clothes for older people, and the way in which they're defined by what they're not showy, sexy, attention-grabbing or glamorous. So one of the ways in which we can interpret the persistent ordering of dress in age is in relation of a wider ageist cultural code that writes directly into the dress of older people, their marginalisation and their exclusion. But surely things have changed. The dominant cultural narrative today is that this ordering's gone, or at least has drastically weakened. Older people need no longer tone down, retreat into invisibility in the way they might have in the past. Such perceptions are certainly widely current in the media and caught by such phrases as 60 is the new 50 or 40 or whatever. It's often asserted that the baby boomer generation will refuse to don the mantle of age, will continue to wear their jeans, pursue youthful, fashionable styles. Older people, surely, are now part of the mainstream. I think this Posey Simmons cartoon captures very well some of the tensions around this kind of argument. As you can see, it reflects that traditional pyramid of age. It's a new modern version of it. And as we look, we see superficially that the same clothes are worn across the life course. Everyone's wearing the same t-shirt, the same shorts. But if you look, you'll see that the body that wears that t-shirt and shorts is systematically very different. And there are also subtle adjustments in the clothes. If you'll notice, we've got elastic waists at the beginning and then we've got elastic waists at the end. Elastic waists are very diagnostic of older people's clothes. We can certainly also find cultural endorsement for the idea of change in the kinds of celebrationist images that we're increasingly being shown. I'm going to show you some that are taken from a New York website called Advanced Style, in which, as you can see, older people are very actively engaging in a high style look that's very far from self-effacing. And certainly in the study I undertook, there was evidence for change in the testimonies of older women themselves and of clothing retailers and journalists. Here's a quotation from the design director of George at Asda. When I started working 30 years ago, there was a point of time when people, the majority of people, would switch into that way of dressing, into classic dressing. And I should explain to you that classic dressing is clothing code for older people's clothes, because they felt it was appropriate for their age. But that's gone. This is a massive change, I mean a huge change in my lifetime. But to those ideas we need to add a note of caution. My study also revealed evidence for the continuity of norms around dress, with respondents emphasising the need to be careful, to choose clothes with caution, to avoid making mistakes. Many had faced the changing room moment, in which they'd found that styles that once flattered no longer did. As one woman said, "When you're in the changing room and you see, oh goodness, is that me? And I just think, no, I can't wear that anymore. It's a lovely style and I just can't wear it. I just feel very sad. And then I've got to go and look for something that's more appropriate for my age." So, to conclude, I think that a focus on clothing and dress provides us with a way of interrogating the changing nature of old age. It provides also an example of a new and fruitful vein of work that's occurring, that's exploring later years, in particular exploring it through the lens of cultural gerontology. And in doing so, it's contributing also to a shift in the politics of age. If you want to know more about this work, it's published as Fashion and Age, Dress, the Body and Later Life by Bloomsbury. Thank you.